Once done, Carrot Drive will look more like this. But
the best bakers on any planet.
Next on The Young and the Restless.
Those hippo are chips, raisins, and the crumbs.
18, and Monday a little bit warmer with a high of 18, but we're...
You're watching Treehouse.
Finally here! Oh boy, why didn't you guys tell me? Oh, never mind. Oh, my special surprise from Granny is here.
And smooth it all out.
Yeah, smooth as, a smooth road.
I guess so.
This little piggy had roast beef, and this little piggy had none, none, none. And this little piggy was a skinny little twiggy, 'cause all he would eat were hot dog buns. This little pig...
Sophie, Ellis, Skylar.
Saturdays on Treehouse. Treetown. Next on Treehouse.
Treehouse TV, a cheap yet safe babysitter to some, but to other more explicit man-childs such as myself, a long-lasting excuse to escape reality. As should be made obvious by the existence of this video, I grew up with the commercial-free Canadian Nick Jr. equivalent children's station, and let's just say my childhood didn't want to let go. But we'll get into that. For those of you who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, Treehouse TV is a Canadian television station that provides preschoolers with a variety of kids shows, some made in-house, others imported directly from other studios, like Nick Jr. in the US. Treehouse TV is actually a spin-off channel of the arguably much more successful Canadian channel aimed at kids called YTV. In a similar fashion to how Nick Jr. is with Nickelodeon, Treehouse got its start as a programming block on YTV titled The Treehouse. Go figure. The Treehouse block proved popular for the channel and aired for many years. The Treehouse block was the basic building blocks to what soon would become one of, if not the most popular children's station in Canada. The host, or PJs, as they called them, were people who were basically placed in between the programming to take up time that would be otherwise filled with commercials. They didn't seem to have that many interesting personalities from the videos I've seen. What the hell am I saying? I wouldn't know. I didn't even exist at this point. All I'm saying is that I don't think these guys had the toughest jobs in the world. Hello, you're in my house with PJ John. Today we're going to be making interesting things with these weird things. Nah, I kid the PJs and their obsession with their Crayola model magics.
Even your Crayola model magic, this stuff's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Y'all seem pretty cool. Hell, PJ Katie was apparently so good, she got this really high-tech show where she was a farmer from outer space.
And all of the hay on the farm, and the silo fell over in a big gust of wind.
This stuff was the shit. And before you scream at me to kill myself for hating on the PJs, let it be known to all that Carlos and Sugar from the Zone were all the hype for me when I was little. Shout out to Carlos if you're seeing this. You're the real MVP. Oh yeah, they were also joined by these things called the Fuzzpaws. And, well, I like puppets, so points here. A few popular future Treehouse shows got their start here, including The Big Comfy Couch, which I may very well get to one day. Eventually, of course, the people at YTV Productions realized they could be making a hell of a lot more money off of the Treehouse brand if it was its own channel and was licensed as such in 1996. A year later, on November 1st, 1997, Treehouse TV was launched in all of its wonderful glory, able to be enjoyed by preschoolers all across the country. this is where it gets good. This right here is my childhood. You wouldn't have clicked on this video if you didn't know what I was going to talk about next.
Hello, everybody. It's time to play. Grab all your toys and
Yes! Oh, yeah! Wow, my God, I love this show! Holy shit!
Treetown! Treetown! The place to blow the road down! Treetown! Treetown! Songs and stories and fun! Treetown! Songs and stories and fun! Treetown!
Yeah! Treetown!
This little-known gem of Canadian television aired between shows and acted in a very similar way to the previously mentioned PJ thingies and followed the daily lives of a rather playful bunch of people called the Treetownies. The very creatively named Treetownies consisted of sisters Tansy and Rosabelle and the rest of the Treetown toys. Tansy and Rosabelle were comedically named backwards and were actually very entertaining in their own way.
Maybe I could get her to do some other stuff for me.
From what I can tell, Rosabelle was slightly older than Tansy, as she acted older and seemed quite a bit smarter than Tansy, often trying to teach her how to do stuff or trick her in ways an older sister would trick a younger sister. But then again, they also tricked each other. And, if Rosabelle is, say, maybe a year older than Tansy, then why are their names reversed? How could their parents have known that Tansy would have been born with a flower planted firmly into her cranium? Will these questions ever be answered through some deep analysis of the show? Am I looking too deep into this? Let's just say Tansy was retarded. The Treetown girls were joined by their Treetown toys. This is where it gets really interesting. We have rather normal type characters like a ball called Osbert Plunky, a doll by the name of Lillian, a dump truck called Stu, a French sounding crayon called Suzanne Magique, something called Ruby Ray Craw, a rarely seen baby ball related to Osbert Plunky called Bading, and perhaps the most unusual, a thing called Kush. Now obviously Kush didn't actually represent weed, right? He was shaped a little too weirdly to just represent a teddy bear. His ears do kinda look like the sides of a marijuana leaf. And I'm no stoner, but I'm pretty sure there's a strand of weed out there called Purple Kush. And the characters all being high would explain such erratic and strange behavior. I'm looking too deep into this again.
Smoke weed every day.
You know, despite being weird and obscure as all shit, the characters and skits were actually very memorable. You might not recognize them all at first, but if you go and watch bits of the show that surfaced online, I can almost bet that there'll be at least one specific scene that you'll remember. For me, it's this one skit that can be seen near the end of the episode, Going Places, where Tansy sings about going on a trip to paradise, and the various ways she's going to get there. I don't know what it is about this skit, but there's always been something that's really resonated with me about it. It's the first thing I think about when I think about Treetown, and I remember being very excited whenever it came on TV. So when I saw it years later, when I finally figured out how to record with a VHS player, needless to say, I was pretty excited. It's hard to say what made the show so memorable. Maybe it was the random guest appearances of some of the most popular children's entertainers of the time. Treehouse would feature the likes of Douglas John, Dutch Robinson, and Kayla, just to name a few. They teach and sing the Treetownies some of their best songs that kids had probably become familiar with the very popular Ants in Your Pants show that also aired on Treehouse. These guest appearances were completely left out of the Treetown compilation shows, so most have been lost to time. However, a select few have luckily appeared on the internet, often posted by the singer themselves. If not the random guest appearances, then it's gotta be the charm. There's this weird tingly feeling I get in the pit of my stomach when I watch the show. It's like the Canadian equivalent to Sesame Street that apparently did its job better than the actual Canadian Sesame Street. There's just something so distinctively Canadian about this show. Something similar to the House Hippo ad or a poutine. If you grew up with this program here in Canada, then I'm sure you'll know what I mean. They got something so right with this show and truly captured the essence of being a child. The utter silliness of it all is just a testament to how it feels to be a child. Everything's a game. I mean, just look at the set. The set. Oh my god, the set. Did they ever get this right? Treehouse took the term treehouse a little too seriously when they started designing the show. The Tree Townies literally live in what appears to be a magical mechanical tree sat atop a windowsill. The Tree Townies live on the many colorful branches of the tree, with Tansy and Rosabelle living in the acorn house, Cush and Cush's library, Suzanne Magique in her doodle room, Ruby Ray in Ruby Ray's make-it shop, and Rosabelle even got her own growing room. And these are just the ones we know about from the show. The tree was chock full of houses that I'm sure were explored more through the various Lost Trio segments that unfortunately have been lost to time. Kinda makes me wonder what it'd be like if there were little people living in the trees in my backyard. Tansy? Rosabelle? Weed?
Hey, I can find that this.
Skipping rope.
I wish. Despite being fucking insane at times, the show also proved to be quite educational. They seem to take the approach that if you make something so batshit crazy, the kids will remember it and enjoy the shit out of it, while also learning an important life lesson at the same time. They did a lot of this through the songs of the show. Take a look at this clip where Tansy is dressed as a chicken and Rosabelle is a monkey. Your immediate thought as soon as you look at this is, what in the actual fuck are these fucktards doing? But then as they get into the actual song, it becomes clear that they're trying to teach kids what these animals do. Speaking of the songs, holy button pushing motherfucker are they ever catchy. These songs are really getting burned into my brain at this point, so much so that I find myself randomly bursting into song as I go about my daily routine. Ooey gooey sticky stuff, mushy ooey gooey can't get enough. Having said all that, most of the show is just plain old silliness, which I think is perfect for a kid's show. Kids don't need to be taught everything from their TV. That's what school is for. Just because a show isn't 100% dedicated to learning, like Dora's to learning Spanish, that doesn't mean a show is bad. In my opinion, this is something the producers need to take into consideration more often. Take a look at this skit, for example, where Dr. Tansy has to aid Weed Guy with his itching problem. You might wonder after watching the skit, well, what in God's name is the moral here? And you know what? You'd be right for asking that because I don't know what the fuck it is either. Fingernails can help scratch itches? No, there is no moral really. It's just for fun. And again, that's really the beauty of the show. It still proved educational, but didn't necessarily need to be educational. To really get an understanding of the impact Treetown made, look no further than myself. I remember my first time watching Treetown. We just got cable, and the first channel I tuned into, oddly enough, was Treehouse. And take a wild guess what was on the station at the time. None other than Treetown. I remember watching this every day. Before Treehouse came along, it was PBS, but as soon as I first tuned into Treehouse, I was hooked. I was so young, and everything about the place just seemed so friendly to me. Some of my favorite childhood memories came from Treetown. Hell, when I got to about the kindergarten age and understood that these little tree people weren't real, I began to have the desire to create my own shows, and as you can hear from this clip from one of my oldest home videos, Treetown was on in the background. The desire didn't end there, however, and I found myself trying to make shows similar to Treetown as I got older. These videos never really got anywhere, unfortunately, but my love for creating entertainment has definitely remained. Though the show enjoyed tremendous success through Treehouse's earlier years, the magical home of the Tree Townies' days were numbered. The show stopped taping new skits in around 2003 and were packaged into 15 episodes of a 30-minute series to be aired on the weekends. The show is so poorly documented that it's hard to say when it actually stopped airing in between shows, but it's expected that this was around fall 2006 to early 2007. Treetown then enjoyed airtime in the graveyard slot, which if you don't know, is when the least amount of people are tuned in compared to the rest of the day, and the station stops giving a shit about what they air. Basically, they stopped caring about Treetown. I was a smart child, though, and recorded as many of the shows as I could on VHS. I didn't get that many, however, because I had to stay up all night to do it. Maybe that's why I suffer from crippling insomnia. Then, unfortunately, I guess the license expired, or they just decided to be assholes and removed Treetown along with a whole bunch of other Trios classics from the schedule entirely on February 27th, 2011. Maybe it's because I'm older now, but I really don't think Trios has been the same ever since. They import most of their shows now as opposed to making them themselves, and the network's logo remained unchanged until 2013, when they finally debuted it with a new look after 10 years of the same old. Recently though, I think they've been coming to their senses, and the new network hosts after almost 10 years of nothing appear to be splashing boots. They're not nearly as cool as Tansy and Rosabelle though. Possibly the weirdest thing about Treetown is how few people really remember it. A show this successful seldomly falls into obscurity. Treetown was everywhere back in the day. Tansy and Rosabelle appeared in parades and even hosted some of the very first Trios live concerts there ever was. And not only was it played throughout the entire day without fail between shows, and not only did it get its own dedicated show, but it also got 2 even lesser known spin-offs about Osbert Plunky at the zoo and Weedman at the library. These spin-offs were available to watch online at TreehouseTV.com until around the time when Treetown was released from their schedule entirely. Now they can't be found anywhere! And speaking of not being able to find it anywhere, where the fuck are the official releases? You'd think a show this successful would have at least got its own VHS release. And you'd be right. But it's so fucking rare that I'm 200% sure I won't be seeing it in my lifetime. The marketing was apparently atrocious for this show. Aside from the inclusion of a few sing-along clips on random DVDs and that one VHS, the only piece of merchandise I can find online is a rare plush of Weed Guy, Kush, and Osbert Plunky on eBay. That's it! No fucking more! There had to have been more back in the day, right? Nowhere on the internet, that's for fucking sure. YouTube to the rescue! Luckily, some guy by the name of Treehouse TV began uploading classic Trios TV shows in April of 2013, including 13 of the 15 episodes of the Treehouse TV show. The last 2 appear to be lost, as he didn't upload them, and he hasn't even logged into his account for the last 2 years, so the last hour of Treetown content still remains lost to time. And before you ask, no, I do not have the last 2 episodes. And that's pretty much the extent of the Treetown content on YouTube, besides the odd clip resurfacing here and there. Before Treetown TV uploaded their episodes, the greatest extent of Treetown content on YouTube was this stellar review by Taximan56.
This is Treehouse TV! Treehouse! Motherfuck! Great video. Check it out. Aside from this great review, the Treetown content was very limited. The only actual footage available was a short sketch featuring Osbert Plunky and Moxie Fruvis, and you'd need good luck to find it. Surely Trios must be at least trying to keep their heart and soul alive, right? Wrong. The most that's left of Treetown is that goddamn acorn house at the bottom of the screen on every Treehouse show.
How dare you stand where he stood?
And I mean, some of the Treetownies' houses are still featured in the bumpers, but we all know that they're no longer in there, and they're not even attached to the tree anymore. If you want to see how poorly remembered this gorgeous show is, look no further than the fucking Wikipedia page. What a fucking detailed and informative page. Even IMDb fucked up. Wait, Lush, addicted to snorting coke, attempts to recover in a rehab clinic run by 2 schizophrenic sisters who believe themselves to be plants. It all makes sense now. Tansy and Rosabelle are indeed schizophrenic twins who see the world in an entirely different way than normal people.
They had a traumatic experience at a young age when they saw a girl by the name of Ruby Ray Craw get crushed into a tree by a dump truck whose driver was named Stu. The sisters imagined that she would never recover, so they imagined her being put back together with various different objects. This fucked them up so bad that they got into hardcore drugs and never recovered from the effects. Their more sensible sister Lillian locked them up in an abandoned rehab clinic once owned by their uncle Osbert, who had a scar the shape of a squiggle running down his face. The sisters fall for the vine-ridden place and call it Treetown. In comes Lush. He comes there seeking help for his own drug-related problems, only to be kidnapped and tortured by the girls themselves as their own personal slave. All the Treetown toys represent the various people Tansy and Rosabelle have come into contact with throughout their lives, and they call Lush Kush, because he represents all their drug-related problems. This is why Treetown is so fucked up. This is why Treehouse TV has covered up Treetown so carefully.
Goodbye, everybody, we had fun with you. Playing, singing, and dancing too. But one more thing before we're through. We're gonna kiss all of you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.